Hello, hello, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Timeshare Recap Tuesday Live. Got a great show for you tonight. Hopefully, plenty of you tuning in. Fantastic. Looks like that's working. Seeing people pop in. Hey, Jeremy, how are you? Destination Timeshare on the channel. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel as well, as he produces some amazing timeshare content as well. Always happy to support other people who are producing content on the internet, on YouTube for free for owners to watch. So we hope you get a lot of referrals from Tug and vice versa. So again, thanks for everyone for tuning in. We got a couple topics to discuss tonight, and we'll get started right off the bat since we are starting again, amazingly, at 9 p.m. right on the dot on a Tuesday. We had some issues to start this, but seems like this time slot is going to work here moving forward. So to get things going, our very first and the best topic, the nose number one. Hi, Claire. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. Certainly appreciate both of y'all tuning in and watching me again this Tuesday. We are going to discuss, for me, the absolute best topic that came on Tug over this past week was the gentleman who popped into Tug and mentioned that he had just signed a contract for $45,000 to buy a Marriott Timeshare at Grand Chateau. Now, I'm not here to bag on Marriott Timeshares. I'm a Marriott Timeshare owner. Thankfully, this individual was having second thoughts when he bought that. The stuff he was told, probably believed some of it, but wanted to do a bit of research. And, thankfully, I'm sure he's very thankful for it. In his research, he found Tug, registered on the forums, and posted his information. I'm sure most of you who are on this channel and who are watching this probably know pretty good idea of how that went. And as you go through this conversation, you get the reactions that most people get in that situation, and that the fact that you are still having second thoughts, or you're asking questions after signing a contract to pay $45,000 for something on top of what was probably a few $1,000s a year in maintenance fees, and then doing your research after is just not the best solution. Certainly not the best idea. In fact, probably the worst way to become a timeshare owner. So again, very, very thankful that this person did his research, found Tug, asked the questions that he was presented, or the things that he was told during the presentation that he probably didn't think was all that accurate, and wanted to verify, and found out that in the majority of that information just simply wasn't true. His spidey sense was correct, and the fact that he was inaccurate in thinking that this was going to be a good deal for him. One of those, everyone who sat through a presentation knows how that goes, and you're prompted to sign here now. You don't want to give up this deal. You don't want to miss out. Fear of missing out is an extremely effective sales strategy. But when you're looking at this stuff and you actually get the advice, you have time to get out of the presentation, do your research, and more importantly, get information from other Marriott owners and get confirmation, or in this case, confirmation that what you felt wasn't quite the case turns out to be absolutely right. It was a bad deal for him. It did take a little bit of prodding, and for him to really discover that the deal he signed was way, way more expensive than he needed to pay, if anything at all. And so thus he was able to later on confirm that he did send his rescission letter in, canceled his timeshare, and was able to back out of that $45,000 deal. The person hopefully sticks around on Tug, does a bit more research. The Marriott program is fantastic. It's a wonderful program to buy into. There are thousands and thousands of Marriott owners on Tug. But I would imagine that if you polled every single one of them, all of them would say that they wish they had known about resale before buying full freight. That said, there are reasons to pay full price for Marriott Timeshare, but as your first intro into timesharing, if you can't answer what those reasons are, you shouldn't be signing a contract to pay $45,000 for one, on top of paying your maintenance fees for the rest of your life. So kudos to this particular individual. Kudos to the people who were answering his questions and being upfront with him, and being as assertive as we are. I know it does get trite, and some people get turned off by how aggressive we are at telling someone to rescind when they come and tell these stories, as we hear them all the time. But you only have a few short days, and we're talking about $45,000. How many of you, has it ever happened anyway? Can you think of any other situation where you plop down $45,000 for something, and you go home and realize that that was probably one of the most expensive mistakes you had ever made? More importantly, you find a free forum full of timeshare owners who are expressing their desire for you to cancel and save this money, not only because it's a great deal for you and they will feel happy, happy, joy, joy, and warm and fuzzy about, helping you get out of that and avoid that, but they probably remember that exact same situation that they went through, and wish someone was there for them. In many cases they were, but in many cases they weren't. They didn't find Tug in time, or didn't get the information they needed, and thus they paid, tens of thousands of dollars too much for something that they could have had for a fraction of the price on the resale market, or might have even discovered that that particular program or that particular purchase wouldn't fit right in their time sharing lifestyle. So this is what Tug was founded on. This is why Tug exists. This is why Tug exists as just the absolute best source of information for timeshare owners on the internet for the past 31 years, and will continue to do so forever. So we love these stories. They're my favorite stories to read. Unfortunately, not every time the person who buys the timeshare and finds Tug in time to cancel and get her full refund. But in this case, they did. So kudos to you. And kudos to each and every person who took the time to respond to that person's questions, answering them truthfully, giving the information that he needed to make an educated decision. And we were very thankful that that educated decision wound up being to rescind and get a full refund. Now, we hope they do continue to pursue information gathering on Marriott Timeshare systems or Hilton or Wyndham or whatever they feel might be better for them or might fit perfectly in their timeshare lifetime. And we hope they buy resale. More importantly, we hope they buy resale on Tug from an existing Tug member who has reached the end of their timeshare lifetime. So you get a win-win situation. One timeshare owner leaves their timeshare, transfers it to a willing buyer who is going to enjoy it for the next 10, 20, 30 years to make some wonderful family vacations. Topic number 2. Article came out in a media article came out, not a very flattering article for Capital Resorts. Certainly, I'd imagine that this is not the sort of headline that they're looking to have in the news. Capital Resorts is not been, had some flattering stuff come up them, and they certainly don't need something like this. But these stories absolutely have to get out. The more of these stories that get out, the more owners will read them, be aware of them, and hopefully not fall for them in the future. In this situation, it seems that these owners owned at a particular resort and went to a presentation or sales meeting or whatever it happened to be. It wasn't very clear in the article how they got to that meeting, but they were presented with, in front of a salesman for Capital Resorts who made it seem like that they were trading in their timeshare or otherwise getting rid of their timeshare because they didn't want it anymore. And what it turned out is they were buying $55,000 worth of Capital Resorts points or a new timeshare, which was really, really frustrating to read because it was very clear from the story. And we hear the story over and over again, how owners, their goal is to get out of the timeshare. That's what they went there for. That's what they wanted help with. Unfortunately, they chose to go to a salesman, not knowing any better. And most people don't feel that if I sit down in front of what it looks like a clean cut, well-mannered, well-spoken, educated person who you are hoping is going to be able to answer your questions about your timeshare and help and give you advice and give you the information that you need or the knowledge that you need. And when in fact they use that against you and manipulate you into, padding their own pockets, because those salespeople are not there to help you get out of a timeshare. Those salespeople are there to sell you more timeshares because that's how they get paid. They all work on commission. So in this particular story, it was truly sickening. I agree completely. I don't know how companies like Capital Explorer and Exploria can even stay in business. You're absolutely right. There is no doubt whatsoever, and this I hate to say it, but this isn't anything new. Sleazy timeshare sales tactics and exploiting the ignorance. I hate to say that, but that's what it is. Exploiting the lack of knowledge and the ignorance and the trustworthiness, or excuse me, the innate trusting that many of my previous generation, elderly, and again, I'm trying not to use adjectives that would otherwise insult people, but my parents and a generation before that, baby boomers and such like that, they're more trusting. They just simply, many of them aren't wired to think that a person sitting in front of them would lie through their teeth just to make a buck and to get them to buy something versus actually giving them truthful and helpful information. We were interviewed for this article. Reporters came and we've actually seen my interview show up in a number of these articles, which is fantastic because they all tend to apply. The real problem comes in and when these people are roped into something like this and they feel that they're desperate and their own resort that they bought into fleece them out of this much money, and then they wind up finding a timeshare exit company, or finding a timeshare cancellation company, or a quote unquote law firm out there that can help them get out of their timeshare or fix their timeshare mistake, which is music to their ears. That's what they wanted in the first place. They went to their own timeshare to get that help and were scammed. So now they're, not interested in speaking with their timeshare, but now you see the sales pitch. And I harp on this week in and week out because it's the biggest issue that faces the industry today is the timeshare exit and cancellation scams that absolutely plague this industry. But they're told exactly what they want to hear. I can get you out of your timeshare guaranteed. And unfortunately, the only guarantee in that situation is that you're going to lose even more money. You're never going to see that money again, despite their money back guarantees that they offer. Not going to hash into the timeshare exit and cancellation scams as we've covered this in just about every episode. But our golden rule for going on 31 years now is never pay a large upfront fee to sell, rent, exchange, exit, cancel, whatever your timeshare. 100% of the scams that target owners in this industry rely on telling you, spinning a yarn, telling you exactly what you want to hear, or even a too good to be true offer, even with a guarantee attached, to get you to pay them money up front. Just send us money and we'll take care of it. Just pay this up front. We'll take care of all your needs. You're good. And this is how the timeshare exit and cancellation industry has absolutely exploded in this industry, because that is what millions of owners are desperate to hear. That I have a solution to get you out of your timeshare, guaranteed. It's like selling. There's no other way to explain how desirable that message is for so many owners out there, and they're willing to pay out the nose for that guarantee and for that help. And unfortunately, as almost all of you are watching this channel know, the solution that these companies provide is for you to stop paying for your timeshare and default on it, and then relying on the resort to either not take action, or hopefully not ding your credit, hopefully not, send you to collections, but just send you a letter, offering you to surrender that timeshare back. Now, why these companies don't implement programs that would allow for a much more seamless process, it seems like they just all want to go through this roundabout nonsense of not giving good advice to the timeshare owners out there who are desperate to hear it, forcing them into the jaws of these exit scams, and then at the end, taking the timeshare back anyway. So it seems like just an absolutely ridiculous, snowball circle, whatever you want to call it, catch 22 of a situation where the timeshare knows that this person doesn't have any options to legitimately sell that timeshare, knows that they're not likely going to have any success even giving away that timeshare, and is not giving them the opportunity to surrender it back. What option do they have left? Is either to stop paying on their own, which is going to end up back in the timeshare property. Their own is they're going to own it eventually, or they're going to fall into the jaws of an exit company who is out there looking for that exact person who is desperate to get rid of their timeshare. They feel they're stuck with it. I can target those people specifically by guaranteeing to get them out of their timeshare. And that solution is, again, for them to stop paying. So it's just a huge blight on this industry. And something we'll talk about next week is I saw Arda just recently, I forgot the name of it. If someone has it, I'll go back and look at it. I should have had that. But Arda just released a fancy new website, the Timeshare Consumer Compliance Center or something like that, where it's a 100% an active target to educate owners against timeshare exit companies and timeshare cancellation companies, to provide them the truth. So hopefully, these owners that are looking to get out of their timeshare don't get roped into the scam. But the big glaring issue that I had with the site, at least from what I saw, is it still doesn't provide an actual solution that these owners, just like this couple in the story, need to get out of their timeshare. Capital Resorts has an exit program, so I have no idea why this. I absolutely know exactly why they did it. They went to a salesperson instead of, asking to or contact the exit department. But Capital Resorts has an exit program that they will take a paid off timeshare back. How this company or how this couple ended up with a $55,000 bill of more Capital Resorts timeshares is just sickening to me. This should never happen. Every bit of this story and every bit of bad press and bad karma that comes Capital's way is 100% deserved and their fault. You should just, the fact that you don't have something in place that would prevent this exact situation from happening, which is just the worst of both worlds. The owner's unhappy, Capital's unhappy because they're not paying anymore. The timeshare exit company was paid thousands of dollars. The only person who really made out here is the financing company who probably gave them that $55,000 loan to buy their new timeshare. And now they're just going to default on that. So it's just this story is far too common in the industry. We hear it on an almost daily basis where owners are just desperate for solutions to get out of their timeshares, and don't want to default, or don't want to hear that that's the only option they have. But until this industry can provide, all major developers need to provide some sort of exit program for their timeshare owners, whether it's conditional, whether it's fee based, whether it's based on how long you've been an owner. Something has to be provided for an owner to get out of their timeshare, or nothing is ever going to change in this industry. And these timeshare exit scams and the timeshare cancellation scams are going to continue to fleece owners for millions of dollars each and every year. Soapbox off. Sorry about that. Going on to topic number 3. This is the perennial Coke versus Pepsi. Tastes great versus less filling. RCI versus II, which is better? And I imagine if I asked 100 Interval International owners which one they thought was better, and I asked 100 RCI owners which one they thought was better, or asked them to debate the pros and cons versus both. It really comes down to, someone said it perfectly in this particular post. What is your goal in timesharing? Are you looking to, what system do you own? It's linked in it. Are those where you want to trade? What, II, for lack of a better term, tends to have a smaller number of resorts. There's no disputing that RCI has access to far more resorts than Interval International does. There's far more inventory and far more things to choose from. But in most cases, people believe, at least the common conception is, that those are lower tier resorts. That would make sense. There's a lot of, I don't want to say garbage, but mud weeks in RCI. So yes, there's far more inventory, but it's likely places you may or not want to actually stay in. Whereas Interval International tends to have some of the nicer resorts or higher quality resorts. Especially helps that the legacy Marriott stuff trades within II, but also cheaper. But then you have people that are looking just for the absolute cheapest way to exchange their timeshares. And then you get into what both these companies have rolled into this industry is now the rental market. They don't call them rentals, but getaways and last calls, it's exactly what those are. They're offering discounted rentals of inventory that is otherwise not going to be traded for. But those are some amazing deals. I myself take advantage of a number of Interval International getaways and bookings, because it's just so attractive to be able to stay at these resorts for such amazingly cheap prices. Even if you don't want to stay the full week, they offer the nightly rates that are bargain basement for something we have on Tug. So when RCI had Lost Disney Vacation took a really big hit, absolutely. When that switched to stop trading in there, that is definitely something that they, I don't want to say they didn't recover from that, but RCI is still, as I understand it, is still a far larger exchange organization than Interval International is. But when you're looking at owners, it again is a Coke versus Pepsi. Obviously, if there was one clear winner, that would be the one that they would have dominated each other or dominated the other long ago. But there are pros and cons to both. And, unfortunately, as we have seen just about everything in this industry and in all industries, costs have just risen to a point where, it's pricing many people out. I can remember back where an exchange, I want to say $79, $99, again, we're going way back, but now you're looking at, hundreds of dollars when you tack on the nightly fees for exchange. The exchange people are charged. Parking fees is just fees. It's ridiculous at how much an exchange costs now. It used to be billed as a super cheap way because you're not even including your maintenance fees that you cost to deposit that week and trading it. But just what used to be a reasonable transaction fee to trade your timeshare, or the ability to trade your timeshare, has now just people are just getting nickel and dime to death for lack of lack of any other better way to say it. You're looking at more and more people find their maintenance fees that they're paying are going up year in and year out. And 20 years down the road, your maintenance fees gone from a few $100s to now thousands of dollars. And it's just pricing people out of vacations. And so when you're looking at exchanging, you join timeshares, you bought a timeshare because you wanted to save money. And now I see so many people that when you factor in your maintenance fee costs, the cost to exchange, cost to deposit, the cost to retrade, all of the different things, if you couldn't find what you're looking for, the cost to carry those, carry that exchange over, to buy insurance to try and save your, there's just so many different fees out there that, what used to be just a small, reasonable amount of money to have access to trade your timeshare for anything else in the world, as it was probably billed to you when you bought your timeshare, has now just, people see it as a giant money grab, and it's hard to argue against that. So which one's better? You tell me. Again, if I polled everyone on Tug, and I think there is a poll on Tug for which one's better, RCI or II, you would probably get a split right down the middle. Those who have used RCI for years, and someone also made a great point on this thread that it's also likely what you started using, what you were used to. There was a debate on whose user interface is better, whose app was better. I think someone found it much more convenient. But if you were comfortable, and if you were always grew up, cut your teeth in time sharing using the RCI side, you were and getting used to their way that they can search, and then you probably like that more. And if you try to use II, it's just so different. It might be better, but it's just different enough that you probably don't like it. And vice versa. If all you ever knew was Interval International and you've been somewhat happy with that, if you tried to go to the RCI side, you would change is difficult for many people. People get comfortable, people use what they know and what they're comfortable with. And another good point made, it's just like banking. No matter how frustrated you get with your bank, it's just too much of a pain in the butt to transfer all your accounts and transfer all your bill pays and everything to another bank. So you just kind of suck it up and keep doing with it. And I would imagine that RCI and I rely on. There's an actual term for that. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but once you've been established with a particular account or a particular brand or something for so long, it's just, despite what headaches you encounter, it's still less cumbersome to just deal with the problems than it is to make the switch. So I think I was the one to say that. Yeah, I think you mentioned that as well. Claire, it's better for me because I only own Marriott, and that's what I have to use. Same way, the legacy Marriott that we have not enrolled in Abound trades within II. I've made some amazing II trades with that. Staying in Frenchman's Cove for my honeymoon. If I ever lost Marriott, that would be a huge blow, almost as similar to RCI losing Disney. But as it is now, the best summary I can come up with is you have more options and cheaper options using RCI. You have obviously less options, but higher tier options in using Interval International. And I realize that that's an extreme generalization, but if you ask me to type a single sentence on how to describe them both, that's probably the most accurate way to come up with that. If you have points, check out RCI's vacations for under 10K points. That's something that's new to me. Thanks, Diane. I didn't know about that. I'm not an RCI points owner. Is that I'm guessing it's something similar to their last calls, that it's just super cheap intervals that you can book for a pittance number of points. Again, there's no argument that RCI and II are both offering this super cheap over a surplus inventory, whatever metric or whatever algorithm they both have set up to transfer inventory from the exchange pool over to the I'll call it the rental pool, because that's exactly what it is, to try and monetize that inventory that they have determined is otherwise not going to be taken exchange wise. That's just got to be a huge boon for them. And now we see many other systems making just millions of dollars on renting intervals. And it's just kind of the way it goes now. We have Club Wyndham's may never use our points in RCI yet. I don't know if you would ever get not sure what sort of conversion rate or what you would get in RCI with your Wyndham points to transfer in there that would be better than just using them straight through to reserve a Wyndham resort. What do we got here, Joe? This is a good. I just found a Mass Newton 4-bedroom with 3 bathrooms, September for 4,700 RCI points. Just out of curiosity, since 4,700 RCI points, what would that come out to maintenance fee wise, cost wise? What is that? $1,000? Less than $1,000? I'm genuinely curious. Again, I'm not I'm not at all an RCI points owner, so I'm not sure what the value of that is. But I mean, it sounds like just off the numbers that's a pretty good deal for a 3-bedroom. I'm assuming that's the full week for 4,700 RCI points. That's a pretty incredible deal if you can 4-bedroom 1212. I guess that's December, so right before 2 weeks before Christmas. That's way less than $1,000. Yeah, it sounded like it was a very small amount, but I was curious. I was previously unaware of that, but it definitely sounds like the RCI last calls have now trickled over to the point side, so that you can now use excess hanging Chad points that you had left in your account. September 12, maybe I misunderstood 12, but September 12th. I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. Take a look at that. It might be way better than using our points at Club Wyndham. Again, if people are flexible, for me personally, when I look at interval getaways and these last calls, I see a lot of studios and one bedrooms. And you guys can tell me, obviously, there are 3 bedrooms available, and I've seen them. Oh, 12 is sleeping capacity. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Uh, when I look at that, I just see so many studios and one bedrooms that while the deals are amazing, I see them for 40, 50, $60 a night. I can't use that. I can't. I'm the reason I like to stay in timeshares. I like to stay in 2 and 3 bedroom units because I have a family. I want to put my kids in another room. I don't want to cram myself into a studio or a hotel unit or even a 1 bedroom just for the fact that that's not a fun vacation in my mind with 2 small kids. That said, if it was just me and my wife, or people that travel as a couple, or people that travel alone, uh, those deals just can't be beat anywhere. You're not going to find an owner who's going to be willing to rent for that amount. But seeing stuff like that you can, if you're flexible with your travel, again, obviously, uh, probably not having kids in school would not allow for those last minute getaways like that for your family. But no, that is, in my opinion, both of those systems, whichever one you're in, checking out those extremely discounted rentals. Again, they don't call them rentals. I calls them getaways, and RCI calls them last calls. That is really where the value is, in my opinion, to make the most of your annual fee that you pay to be an RCI and using those. And I probably would not pick one over the other. I can't tell you which one is better than the other because and that what is better for me is not better for someone else. But the fact of the matter is that I hadn't previously not known for using 47 points cost less than $100 for a maintenance fee. That's wild. I had no idea it was that low. I would have. That's insane. I guess I need to go back and refresh my knowledge on the scale and the RCI point scale. I assume that a cheap one was probably under 100,000 points, but 4,700. I would have never thought that would be in the $100 range. That's wild that you could have found that in there. Would you feel that 4,700 points is about the sweet spot for those RCI point getaways, or is that just a really, really exceptionally low one that you just saw out of the blue? I mean, you said they're all under 10,000 points. So, I mean, that's what they all got to be under just a couple $100. But how much inventory is available in there on the RCI point side, or is it really just kind of luck of the draw? That is something I personally interested in. That it's definitely something I'm going to look more into. Even though I'm not an RCI points owner, it's even I can learn new stuff. So 47 to 7,000 is common. That is a great suggestion and a great deal for RCI points owners to go look. I'm guessing it's got its own little category somewhere on the RCI website that you can go through just to look for the stuff under 10,000 points. I mean, that sounds like it's exactly like our bargain basement section on Tug, the bargain basement rentals, where everything has to be under $115 a night. Stuff under 10,000 points, it sounds like that's dust as far as most people's RCI points balances are concerned. It doesn't look like our common points look like RCI points. Those cheap 10,000 point exchanges aren't out there for us. Yeah, no, I'd previously never heard of that. That is absolutely the first time I've ever heard someone mention that. But I guarantee I'm going to go look into it. I don't think. I wouldn't think that you can. I guess you could deposit your points, but they wouldn't be enrolled in RCI points. So the only way you're going to get that is to have an RCI ownership that's enrolled in RCI points and able to look at it that way. So you could pick up a cheap RCI points resort, Jeremy. So there you go. There's your excuse to buy a Grandview, every other year, 79,000 or 74,000 point package, just so you can take some of these amazing sub 10,000. Looks like you take 7 of them if you got 70,000 points for that. So it is wild to think about the math. I mean, if you did pick up a free Grandview unit with, what is it? I think it's 74,000 annual points, and the maintenance fees are what? Let's call it $700, maybe $800 for an ownership like that. If you could take 3 or 4 of those sub 10,000 point packages, I mean, that's an incredible number of vacations that you could take for under $1,000. And then so again, so these sort of tips, and even I can learn new stuff. So I'm hoping that everyone watching, if you're an RCI points owner and you didn't know that there was a sub 10,000K super deep discount bargain rental section on RCI, there's your Tug tip of the night. Thanks, Diane. I really appreciate you pointing that out to us, and I hope other people learn about it too and start using that. And I hope it doesn't take away from your future awesome cheap discounted vacations because it gets too popular. And Going into the fourth topic for our evening is the new study came out, and it was actually one of I think it was Arda's article that generated this. But the headline was that Hawaii's timeshares generate hundreds of millions of taxes and thousands of jobs. Basically, the financial impact of timeshares on the state of Hawaii. And it had some good little tidbits in there. And I mentioned, look at that, 5.3 billion in economic output. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. 25,000 local jobs and contributed $518 million in state and local tax revenue. I mean, these aren't numbers to sneeze at. That's incredible for a state, not just an industry as a whole. So I mean, that's a wild amount of money. Timeshare units account for 15% of the state's visitor lodging inventory and thousands of jobs. That's a pretty incredible amount. If you asked me to estimate prior to reading this article, I probably would not have guessed 15%. But the other items in there was actually pretty cool. 1.63 billion in labor income, 1.79 billion in offsite consumer spending. That's all the stuff tourists are spending while they're on the island. Probably food. 518 million in state and local taxes, with 84% of that going to the state and 16% going to local governments. Other thing, 8,000 jobs, 159 million in taxes. There was something on that showed the number of resorts. I want to say it was over 100 resorts in Hawaii alone. I could have sworn I saw that somewhere. I might have scrolled past it. There it goes. 101 timeshare resorts and 15,000 timeshare units statewide. That's behind Florida. I'm guessing that Hawaii is probably at the top of the list. Arda did have a little map that they released showing the number of timeshares in each state, and Florida was number one. Yeah, Florida number one. And so I'm guessing with 100 resorts and 15,000 units for Hawaii, they were probably number two. But that's an incredibly large amount of money just for timeshare owners. When you think about vacation travel, Hawaii is obviously probably top one or top two of everyone's bucket list of if you could pick your dream destination or a place you want to go on vacation. Hawaii is again probably in the top one or two of everyone's list. But to have that many timeshares there and have that many timeshare owners and that sort of economic impact, that's nothing to sneeze at. So you can see why the timeshare industry is people wonder why the timeshare industry it gets such a bad rap in the states. And I was about to mention that state and local leaders seem to think that timeshare owners are want to tax them more. You're absolutely right. But I also look at I can't recall any state or local government that hasn't wanted to raise taxes on just about everything across the board. But it is very frustrating that they seem to focus on timeshare owners. You've seen a lot of these transient occupancy tax and stuff like that, where trying to squeeze a little bit more out of just a select group of vacation travelers when you have such a significant impact. It definitely, you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, but state and local governments, it seems like that the cost of doing business in a state, they're the cost of running a state, just like the cost of running anything goes up year in and year out. And people find creative ways to earn that money to pay those bills. And I will say that being on this side, being on the owner side, you think that everyone making these decisions when it impacts you in a negative way, should have found a better way to do it so that it doesn't impact you. I would certainly like to be a fly on the wall in some of these, state government or city council meetings where they decide to do this stuff, and what the reason for these decisions are to increase these taxes. But either way, no matter what, that is a very, very significant percentage of the Hawaii timeshare, or to me, the Hawaii economy, produced by timeshare owners, both in owning timeshares, visiting Hawaii and spending their tourism dollars there, and state and local taxes. So kudos to all of you who are timeshare owners out there. I'm sure that the people in Hawaii that rely on that vacation dollar being spent there year in and year out, especially those people who dealt with the tragic fires there a couple of years ago, are certainly happy that people are returning and coming in there and spending their money and trying to help support their local economy. So but those were the four articles, the four most important things that we covered in timesharing last week, based on, my opinion, what other people thought. Hopefully you thought that they were interesting to cover. I always enjoy talking about them and giving my take just off the cuff. I don't script any of this. I certainly appreciate all of you who tuned in this week. Hopefully look forward to continue to have more people tuning in and engaging back and forth. Thank you so much for tuning in. Unless there are any other questions, I'm going to call it for the night, as we have covered anything and everything. Be sure to tune in next week. We should have some good stuff to chat about, especially that new ARTA website that's come out. I'm genuinely interested in exploring that a bit more. I've just taken a few little glances at it to go through. I like the information that's on it, but again, I still, my biggest beef with ARTA is they say a lot of the right things, and then when it, just kind of ignoring the elephant in the room, for lack of a better term. So till next week, folks, hope you all tune in. Thank you so much for tuning in and enjoying listening to me ramble on about timeshares for the past 35 minutes. See you all next Tuesday. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.